everyone, I'm Tom. Welcome to my grow room. As you've noticed from my last few videos, I've kind of branched out from just talking about growing plants, and been doing some stuff with different stoves, and a lot of that is because I love the outdoors. That's why I love gardening so much. I love being outside. So I really enjoy hiking and camping. Lots of good memories as a child. You know, just heading up to the mountains, up to Banff. It's just 4 hours away from here. Or even we have the Cypress Hills, which is just like 45 minutes out of town. Really nice. They're not mountains, but they're nice hills with great forests and great hiking and camping up there too. So another little project that I've been looking into, along with the different kinds of stoves, is paper pulp and making paper logs out of paper pulp. You can use cardboard, newspaper, shredded paper. You can even use other types of biofuel, you know, grass clippings, leaves, wood shavings, wood, sawdust. All that stuff can work. So I've been doing a little bit of research into it, and I'm just in the early stages of kind of working through it and trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. But I basically want to make some pulp and make some logs out of it, so I can take that camping. Apparently they burn for a long time. You need to have a fire going to get them to burn, but they burn for a very long time, and you can make it out of stuff you're gonna throw out anyway, which is something I'm a supporter of, is using garbage and making something worthwhile out of it. So I'll show you, bring in and show you what I got going on here, and we'll just go through this process together, my trial and error and mistakes, and I'll record it all, and hopefully I end up with some good paper logs that'll burn really nice for me when I'm camping in the summer. So I've got one of my 5-gallon buckets, and I've got tons of shredded paper in here. I got this from my parents. They have a shredder which shreds it really fine. So I've got a lot of that in here, and then I also had some other larger chunks of paper, cardboard and stuff that I ripped up. So I've got that soaking in here, and what I want to do is I want to make something that will attach to a drill, an electric drill, so I can come in here and blend this stuff up into a pulp. I've seen online what it's supposed to look like before you make the bricks, and it needs to be a very, very ground up kind of pulp. Oh, crap all over me. My camera battery died, so I had to switch over to using my phone, but yeah, I want to make something that I can blend this stuff up. I've tried making some smaller versions, but these little pucks and this block, I don't know how well they're gonna do. They're still drying because of the pieces of paper. You can see, I got really big chunks still, and from what I've seen online, you need it to be a really fine pulp in order for it to work best. So I'm gonna let these dry. That's another thing with this process, is once you make these paper pulp logs or briquettes, they take a long time to dry, and it would be nice if it was still summer. I could put them outside, 30 degrees. They'd be that's Celsius, 30 degrees Celsius. They'd be dry in no time. But over the winter, I think I'm gonna have to be pretty patient to wait for these to dry. But these are just a couple initial kind of prototypes, and as I experiment more, I want to try and make a mold and a system where I can make much bigger logs that will burn a lot longer and really work well. So I'll keep you guys posted as I as I figure out how to do this. Okay, so I'm ready to start kind of moving forward with this paper pulp log experiment. So I've got my bucket here, and I have a tote which just has some holes cut out the side, and there's a hole there, and I've just used this before for actually growing some plants in, just to start them off. That's why it's painted white, and that hole was so I could get a lamp inside here. But what I'm going to do to start with is I'm just going to drain out the excess water that's in here. So I'm just left off with just the paper pulp, and then I'm going to blend that up. So I'm just going to stick a coffee can in this other tote that doesn't have any holes in it. Just stick this into here. Just putting the coffee can in there so it doesn't wedge in there too tightly. I'm gonna need 2 hands for this. I'm just gonna put the camera down. Okay, so most of the water is draining through. Probably gonna have to put a couple holes in the bottom to get more of it out, but I probably should have done that first. But we'll just let this drain for a little bit, and then I'm gonna blend it up with this little tool I made for my drill bit. Okay, so I let that drain for a couple minutes, and most of the water's out. Now I'm gonna use this beast that I made. It's just an old blade off of an old food processor, blender or something we had, and I just wedged it. I screwed a drill bit into it. So I'm going to run it in reverse so that the blades cut the paper, and I'm not really sure how it's going to work, so let's find out together. I've just got it hooked up to my drill here. Make sure it's in reverse. Okay, let's try to mulch this up. So it kind of helped a little bit, but it didn't work quite as well as I'd hoped. On the bigger pieces, the drill bit just span in the blender blade there. But I'm going to try and chop it up a little bit more here, and then we'll get to making this. We'll get it into a form and start squeezing it down. So I got it a bit more mulched up, and I didn't realize I don't have that much paper products to make a brick out of. I thought I'd have a ton in that 5-gallon bucket, but obviously it takes a lot of paper to fill up a 5-gallon bucket, and to get enough paper pulp to make a big block in these totes like I was planning on doing. So I'm just going to do a smaller version and make it in this just this container, this pot. So I'm going to pack the pulp in here, and then I'm going to use this coffee can as a plunger. It fits pretty nicely in there. And then I'm just going to put probably a 5-gallon pail of water I'm going to rest on top of this coffee can just so it has lots of weight pressing down on it. And I'll stick this inside another tote just so I can collect any water that comes out of it. So I'll just go ahead and fill up that can with, or fill up that pot with the pulp. So I filled the pot up with the pulp, but the one thing I noticed is the few drainage holes in the bottom don't really allow that much water out. So as I'm compressing this down, more water is pooling on the top. So I'm going to sacrifice my container here, and I'm going to try drilling a bunch of holes around the sides in the hope that that'll help let more of the water drain out. There's one, so I'm just going to go around and do a whole bunch more. Just fill this whole thing with holes, as many as I can without making the pot too weak. Okay, so I drilled holes all the way around the side. You can see the paper sticking out a little bit, and I put a few more on the bottom. So I'm just going to stick it in the tote. Grab my coffee can plunger, give it the old boot. Really try to get as much out of the moisture out as I can. Maybe I can balance on this thing. Oh. There we go. That's just under 180 pounds on there, so the coffee can holds up pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. It's just made of plastic. And I dropped my shoe in the water. Isn't that awesome? Oh well. Oh, I guess the can did kind of crumple a little bit, but looks like it'll still work. So it wedged down pretty good there. So I'm just going to drain off this last little bit of water. It's a great thing about using a tote is, you know, you can recycle this water or reuse it. So this bucket is ready to go to get filled up again with more paper products. I lost a little bit of water there, but it looks like it's pretty full still. So I'm just going to stick the tote in, the can, try to get this lid sorted out. Okay. Stick that on there. I'm going to grab my 5-gallon bucket and balance this on here. I'm going to kind of slide the whole thing that way so it won't completely tip over. And I'm just going to top up the bucket. Got a handy little faucet right there. We'll let this sit overnight, and then I'll see how it looks in the morning. We'll check it out then. Okay, so this 5-gallon bucket has been sitting on my mold for a couple days now. And I've been adding cardboard and egg cartons and whatever little bits of paper I have. I need to get some more shredded stuff off my parents, because that stuff is so broken down already. It's ideal for doing this. So, still dripping some water. Just dump that into there. Okay, I wonder if I can do this one-handed. I'm gonna squeeze it all the way around. Just try to loosen it up. I'm hoping I can turn this over and it'll come out without too much headache. That's the thing with this whole process is, yes, it's good to be using paper and cardboard as a good fuel source, but if the whole process is really time consuming and pain in the ass, I'm not going to do it. And especially if the logs it produces don't burn that well. You know, I have heard that you need to have a good fire going to get them to burn. If not, they'll just smolder. But I'm hoping that you know, that's just like any kind of big log. You know, it needs a good fire going for it to burn. But then you get a lot of heat and a lot of you know, longevity out of the burn. Okay, so that's pretty squeezed. Oh, and it just popped right out. I think the tapered nature of the container really helped. So, it's still very wet. It's been a couple days it's been squeezed in there. But, yeah. I'm going to put it on a plate or something and get it in close to a sunny window, and we'll see how long this takes to dry. So this is, you know, about 8 inches across by about 4 inches thick. So, you know, that's probably a pretty good size. You know, I was thinking I was going to make really big ones, but they're just going to take so much longer to dry. And not only that, I don't know if I want to be moving around giant blocks of paper and pulp. Whereas something like this, you know, I think that's probably a pretty good size. I don't think I really want to go much bigger. You know, maybe it could be a little bit deeper. I could have got a little bit more pulp into this container. So maybe a little bit higher, but I like that size. I feel like that's a good size. So I'll put it out to dry, and I'll hopefully get some more paper and repeat the process and get another one of these bricks going. And I'll measure or keep track of how long it takes for this to dry just in a sunny window. Hi everyone, I'm Tom. Welcome to my living room with my little Christmas tree. Just wanted to do this video, or wrap this video up down here. So, making paper pulp logs, and what I've learned. Basically what I found is newspaper works the best, or shredded paper. Cardboard, even when you soak it for a long time, even thin cardboard, it just doesn't break up into a nice pulp. Newspaper breaks up into a pulp really well. Regular paper does good as well, but not as good as newspaper. So you want just really fine newspaper like this. Soak in a bucket. Soak it at least overnight, and then I've got this thing, this tool I made. So the end of it is just the blade off of a food processor on a drill bit, and I packed this cavity with JB Weld, which is a really strong adhesive putty. I also put a bunch around here, and this thing is solid, and it does a great job. I hook it up to my drill, and I can just, after that pulp has been soaking, I can just shred that paper really well with this. And then you get something looks like this. This is a log I made, which is still drying. I would prefer it if I could get the paper a little bit smaller. So I'm definitely not still an expert at this, but I did burn a couple of these logs already. And even that little puck that I made took a long time to burn. So it is a great thing. I encourage everyone, if you have a fire or a stove, or if you're gonna go camping, make some of these logs ahead of time. You do have to be patient to get them to dry. I found, like, you know, even after like 3 weeks, they still weren't as dry as I would like them, but they do burn really well. They burn for a long time. You don't get a lot of flames off of them, but you get a lot of heat, a lot of glowing coals, and they last a long time. So yeah, newspaper, try to come up with something to make it into pulp. This thing works, but if I could get the paper a little bit more pulped, I'd be a little bit happier. And then, yeah, the plant container that I'm using as a mold is working great. I think this size log is awesome. And the other one I made that was about this size, it burnt for hours in my brother's fireplace, and I'll throw a couple images up of that. So yeah, paper pulp logs, give them a shot. Easy to do, you just need some paper. Take care, everyone. Bye. Okay, and that other one is definitely still burning.